Alright, so for the last few days I have been keeping these all nice and moist in a dark place in my basement where it's nice and cool, and I am about to start soaking some of them right over here. Some of them you want to soak for 24 hours, 12 to 24 hours, and others it's 8 to 12 hours. So I'm staggering this. I'm going to start some now, and then the rest I will start later, and it looks like tomorrow I will get everything planted. Alright, so the blackberries and the raspberries are now soaking, and they will soak. I was careful to only cover up the roots, not cover up the stem at all. Those will soak for 24 hours. Tomorrow at this time they'll be in the ground. I'll show you that in the video. And the rest of the currants, the honeyberries, and the aronia are all going to still be in here. I moistened that medium up a little bit more, and am going to start those soaking first thing in the morning when I wake up, and then they will be ready to plant at the same time. That's supposed to be an 8 to 12 hour soak for those plants. One crucial point when you're doing bare root planting is to make sure that you do not let the plants or the roots be in the sun until they are planted. The roots can burn really easily, so you do not want to let them get exposed at all. You don't want them to dry out. If you're ever transplanting anything around your property, make sure that you protect the roots, cover it up, preferably with like a burlap bag or even a moistened burlap bag, to make sure that it's not getting scalded from the sun. Alright, so here's the outside. This is the area surrounding my deck, as you can see right up here. This is where we are going to plant those bare root plants very shortly. Last season, in the fall, I had somebody help me and turn over all this soil here with a rototiller. I'm not generally a turn over your soil kind of guy, but there are times and places for everything. This was all grass, and I wanted to kill that grass off so that we could do a planting in here. It worked very well. Only a little bit of grass survived. 3 or 4 days ago I hit that with some Roundup in order to do a final killing of anything. I know there are people who are going to say, oh, Roundup horrible. I agree with you, it's not the best stuff, but you know what, there's a time and a place for everything, as I said. After this is done, it will no longer be tilled and it will no longer be rounded up. I've got a whole lot of really nice compost that I'm going to use as mulch on top of it. So here's what the planting is hopefully going to look like. So to orient yourself, the direction that I'm facing now is north, and the sun is up there in the sky, which is very bright. But just to give you an idea, the reason this is important is when you're planting fruiting plants, things that are going to be perennial, you want to make sure you're putting them in a place that they can survive. So over here, this area gets a good decent amount of sun, but it is a sun and shade area. So over here, I'm going to put the things that are most shade tolerant. That includes the currants. So I'm going to put the black currants and the red and the pink currant all over in this area right in here. Then I think I'm going to underplant that with some things that are going to be nitrogen fixers, as well as some greens and herbs that might be able to live in the ground with it. I'm also going to put strawberries that I have. I'm going to transplant over here, and they are shade tolerant strawberry. Over here I haven't really decided what I'm going to put in this area because this gets a lot of shade. This is kind of the most shaded area, but if I don't put anything that we can eat in there, I might put some cilantro in there. That might help it not bolt quite so quickly because it's going to be getting a lot more shade. But maybe some greens that I can get to kind of naturalize, or maybe just some flowers, things that'll be pretty that can take some shade. Hostas, something like that. Then over here, you can see we're getting a lot more sun. This area gets sun for almost all day. It's going to get the sun all afternoon, and it will get a decent amount of sun in the morning as soon as it gets up over the house. So this area, I think that I'm going to plant the blackberries right here, one about here, and one over towards where the shade just starts, maybe 3 or 4 feet away from the stairs. And then I'm going to kind of arch those towards each other. And if those come down and touch, they will actually root out, and I can just kind of repropagate it in this strip right here. Then over here, and I did get a thornless blackberry. It does have small thorns on it, but hopefully not that thorny, so that it will not be too bad for people sitting on the bench right there. Then after that, over here is where I'm going to put the raspberries. Right now I have 4 raspberries. I might get a couple more to stick in here, but this area will get sun pretty much all day as well. so that will be good. And then finally right here, I'm gonna put some more herbs that I want to have kind of naturalized that I'll let go to seed every year, and hopefully they'll start resprouting on their own. Maybe some cilantro, other herbs like that that I want to do. Cilantro, dill, you name it, basil, anything that I think has a chance of being able to go to seed and regrowing in the same spot next season. I'm gonna kind of stick that around my house a couple places and see if we can get it to kind of naturalize, so I can just harvest it and I don't have to plant it every year. Well, that is kind of the plan as it stands. I will very shortly get this all planted in, and then I will show you the final results. Alright, so here we are, it's planting day. I've got this stuff laid out. We're ready to start going. I'm going to start planting everything in, then I will show you how it all looks. Alright, so I want to show you what I'm doing here. I am digging down so that I'm eyeballing the hole just like this. Alright, we want to be planting it at the same height that it is. And I'm actually mixing some of this fertilizer here into that hole. This is the same stuff that I use in my vegetable garden, and I actually really liked it. It worked very well last year. Then I mix up this hole and get that all nice and mixed in there, and then I'm going to plant it in. And as I plant it in, I jiggle it a little bit to try to make sure I'm getting good contact with the roots everywhere. If there's any roots that you're seeing that look really damaged, you want to cut them off, and you want to kind of spread them out as much as you can. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I got all the raspberries and all the blackberries planted in, and those are looking good. What I'm going to do now is show you how I water them in. You can see the results right here. What I do, because I get really bored watering like a lot of people, so then you don't water enough. So instead, I am filling up this little trusty bucket with a bunch of water, building up a little berm around here, and then I'm going to dump the whole bucket in there. And that's going to get that water to go all the way deep down around the roots of the plant. That is the key here. We don't want to just moisten up the top of the plant, we want to moisten up the bottom. And once we get this really well watered in, then I will go ahead and mulch it all in. And that's going to help to maintain an even amount of moisture in that soil. You don't want to mulch first, because then the mulch is not going to let all the moisture go all the way down to the roots exactly where you want it. So water it in and then mulch it. So here you can see that little berm around the whole plant, and I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with water. I'm trying to do this one-handed here without getting everything really dirty. Let's see if I can show you. And if you do it right, all that water is going to stay right over those roots and sink all the way down, and you're going to be in really good shape when you mulch. Alright, so this is going to be the final shot here. I'm a little short of breath, so I apologize, but everything is planted in, and it is mulched in with a really nice leaf compost that is kind of what they call in Europe, they call it leaf mold. You got to keep your leaves, people. They're the best thing in the world. You can see the moisture they're holding, and they are going to hold. This is just a dry soil by itself. This is the leaf compost. This is going to keep the soil really, really even in its moisture level, and that's exactly what you want it to do. It's also going to prevent weeds. Well, it didn't cost me a thing, except for a little bit of work. So, just to review, I took off all the labels off of my plants because I don't want to run the risk of any of them getting choked out. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I'm keeping an eye out anyway. These are 4 Ann raspberries. They're yellow raspberries. These are 2 Aronia. The name is Nero. Then I've got a blackberry right here. My intention is to run that up and over this way. And I've got another blackberry over here, and those are Prime Jim blackberries. They say they're thornless, but I got some little thorns on them. It's supposed to be an ever-bearing. Both the raspberry and the blackberry are ever-bearing berries. And then over here is a currant, Rovada, which I believe is a red currant. And I have a black currant, which is Ben Sarek. This is a pink champagne currant. I think the name is just pink champagne. And then this is a honeyberry. And you can see it's just starting to bud out here. A number of them are. So our timing is pretty perfect here. That one is. This one is right here. The black currant is. I think the soaking for 24 hours really kind of woke them up. Or not, I think these were 12 hours actually. The currants are 12 hours. The raspberries and stuff were 24 hours. So that is that. I will give you an update as soon as everything starts growing. Wish me the best, and I hope you guys are all having an excellent garden season. If you're a first-time gardener, do this your first season. Plant in some fruits that will come back over and over and over. You will appreciate it. I wish I had done it last year. All the best.